Hi, my name is Nigel D. Salmon. In this video, I will be looking at the cause of death of Peter Tosh, Jamaican recording artist. I will be looking specifically at his death registration form. This is a very interesting video that you should watch to the end. Welcome to Jamaican chapter. So this is the death registration form of Peter Tosh. A death registration form, it tells the cause or causes of death, place of death, age of the deceased, and other personal information about the deceased. So we'll be studying Peter Tosh death registration form to learn more about his death. Alright, we'll start by looking at the top of the form. At the top of the form it says death registration form, death in the district of University of the West Indies, Parish, St. Andrew. The reason why University of the West Indies is there is because this form was filled out at the hospital and it is saying that's where he died. Let's go down a little more and we start with the left of the form. And at the left of the form it says place of death, University Hospital of the West Indies. So the form is saying that Peter Tosh died at the University Hospital of the West Indies. And going sideways to the right of the form where it says usual residence of deceased, 5 Plymouth Avenue, Kingston 6, St. Andrew. So what this is saying when it says usual residence of deceased is saying this is where you normally live. This is your, some people would call the permanent home address. So usual residence of deceased, we have here 5 Plymouth Avenue, Kingston 6, St. Andrew. So that's where Peter Tosh was living when he died. And let me just go on to say that that is the place where he was attacked, and the tragedy happened. So on September 11, 1987, Peter Tosh was at home, he and his wife and some friends, when 3 gunmen made their way into the home here at the address you have here, and they wanted to rob Peter Tosh, but Peter Tosh told them he had no money. They did not believe him, and it so happened that They fired shot. Peter Tosh was shot, and two of his friends were also killed. Alright, so let's move on to the left of the farm. And here on the left, you have a part that it says particulars of deceased. Date of death 11th September 1987. In other words, September 11, 1987. Going down, it says full name Winston Hubert McIntosh. Below that, it says sex male. So yeah, we know he was a male. Then it says condition married. So his death registration form is saying he's married at the time of his death. His wife is a woman called Marlene Brown. Well, they got married, so it would be Marlene McIntosh. Yeah, the date of their marriage, I don't seem to find. And some articles written about them referred to her as common law wife. But his death registration form here is saying that he was married. And if you go down, I'm going to skip down to the bottom of the form here, a place that I don't go when I'm doing this video, but just to show you something. At the bottom of the form here, you have a part for the informant. The informant is an individual who is going to sign off on the death registration form, like a family member, friend, anybody who's going to be responsible. So in that section, it said informant, name and surname, Marlene McIntosh. So she is the one who signed the death registration form, and it's a qualification widow. That part that is crossed out, it seems like she put wife, but then somebody reminded her and said, your husband is now dead, so you're now a widow. So that was crossed out, wife, and the word widow is put. And at the bottom, she signed it. So she's the informant, the person who signed off on the death registration form, and she lists herself as widow. So we will go with the death registration form. And her address here, let me zoom in. It says 5 Plymouth Avenue, Kingston 6, St. Andrew. That is the same address given as Peter Tosh's usual address. So it is clear that the both of them were living together at 5 Plymouth Avenue, Kingston 6, St. Andrew. And of course, as I said before, that is where the whole tragedy happened, where Peter was shot and 2 of his friends, and some others were also wounded, but they did not die. And before we start back with the farm, I just want to add that there was a beautiful young woman that Peter Tosh was in love with before he met Marlene. The beautiful young woman's name was Yvonne. I mean, Tosh really loved this young woman. She was naturally pleasant. She believed in the Rastafarian lifestyle. and she and Peter Tosh got along very well. In 1973, tragedy struck. Yes, one evening as Tosh was driving home with Yvonne, another car slammed into theirs. Tosh was badly injured, but Yvonne was killed in that accident. Okay, so let's get back to the farm now. Alright, let's move back up to where we were. So we're still looking at the left side of the farm. We have looked at date of death, his full name, his gender. We show that he's also married. And then you have age. And we see 42. So yes, he was 42 years old at the time of his death. And going down below that, we see occupation or calling, and they put singer as his occupation, which is true. Peter Tosh was a singer. Peter Tosh music career began in the early 1960s, 1961 to be exact. He started out in a group called the Wailers. The group consisted of Peter Tosh, Bob Marley, and Bunny Wailer. The group's first song was called Simmer Down, and this song was a ska. The Wailers recorded many more songs, some of which were very successful. But in 1974, Peter Tosh left the group. He left the group and he started his solo career as a recording artist. His solo career was a hit with many popular songs such as Equal Rights, Legalize It, African, and Glass House. And Glass House is my favorite. That song, I love that song. Peter Tosh was awarded a Grammy Award for Best Reggae Performance for his studio album called No Nuclear War. This was his last album. You know, Peter Tosh is summed up as a songwriter, musician, and reggae artist. And if you wonder why the word musician was used, that is because he was really good at playing the guitar. He was self-taught in guitar playing, and he also played the keyboard and the drum. And as a songwriter, he wrote songs that he recorded. And as an artist, you know, we all know him as the artist. So yes, Peter Tosh occupation was singer. Let's continue down on the farm. Down at the bottom of this section, it says birthplace. Birthplace, Westmoreland. So yes, Peter Tosh was born in Westmoreland. We all call him Peter Tosh, but if you're gonna talk about his early life, you have to call him by the name that his parents called him. So Winston Hubert McIntosh was born on October 19, 1944 in the community of Grange Hill, parish of Westmoreland. His father's name was James McIntosh, and his mother's name was Alvira Coke. His mother, Alvira Coke, she died at age 96 in 2013. All right, so now let's look over at the right side of the form where we will see the cause of death. So going over to the right side of the form, here we have the section that shows his cause of death, or causes of death. So it says cause of death: gunshot wound to the head with extensive skull fractures and laceration to the brain. Now, this sounds really tragic. Just saying it, you want to say, oh my God, you know? Let me read that again. And I'm going to put it up on the screen so you can see the words much clearer. So it says, cause of death: gunshot wound to the head with extensive skull fractures and laceration to the brain. And you see why these videos I make are very important to watch? Because you just know that he was shot, but you did not know the type of damage that was caused to his body, to his head, because it was actually his head that he received the gunshot wound. So let's look at it carefully. It says gunshot wound to the head with extensive skull fractures. So you can see the type of the bullet actually fractured his skull extensively. And then it goes on to say, and laceration to the brain. And what is a laceration? A laceration is a deep cut or tear in the skin or flesh. And this is pointing to the brain though. So what this is saying is that there was a deep tear in his brain. That was a very awful, horrible evening for such a talented singer. And all those men wanted was money. So many individuals lost their lives at the hands of robbers. Thankfully, his killer is now in prison. He was given the death sentence, but it was later commuted to life in prison. That is the cause of death of Peter Tosh. Peter Tosh lives on in his music, and we will continue to enjoy him in his music. Thanks for watching, and remember to like, comment, or subscribe. And I'll see you again in the next video like this.